Out of frustration when my current invoicing system said, hey, you're too small, we're going after bigger companies, we learned pretty fast that we wanted to automate as much as possible. And that's where AI, of course, comes in. Number one thing that is precious is like time running your business. We couldn't find in a system where in a matter of seconds, you're good to go. Large language models are not that good at actually calculating those kind of stuff with the right accuracy, right?
Welcome to another episode of AllAboutAI.com exclusive interview series. Today we have Pontus Abrahamsson, co-founder of Midday. We'll be discussing his journey, the challenges he has faced, his achievements, and his vision for AI and business management. Let's get started.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a good question. I've been running my own business for 8 years as a consultant, working for different companies. And one thing that usually I had struggles with was the accounting part and be on top of my finance and those kind of things. And out of frustration when my current invoicing system said, hey, you're too small, we're going after bigger companies. I'm based in Stockholm, Sweden. And we have, as everybody, all countries, you have this country-specific bookkeeping software, which is made for accountants, and it's huge. So when I started to lean into those kind of systems, I got overwhelmed and said, like, oh, I would like to do something that is leaner, smarter, and just slimmer, made for me as a small business owner. So me and my best friend Victor, who also running his own business, we basically took all our experience and out of frustration just started to build something with the Midday when we started Midday. And basically, we learned pretty fast that we wanted to automate as much as possible. And that's where AI, of course, comes in. And I think it makes total sense right now to jump on the AI hype train, because you get a lot of things automated pretty easy with today's technologies. Yeah, of course, we are going global. You can use Midday whatever, right? And I think that is a different approach, as I mentioned previously. Like, all countries usually have their own bookkeeping software, a handful of them, right? But we couldn't find a system where you basically connect your bank account and then you're good to go. You usually need to like get a card or like jump on a bookkeeping software with an accountant, or have huge like systems where it's hard to just get going. And the number one thing that is precious is like time running your business. It's hard. You just need to focus on your things and actually earn money, right? So we couldn't find a system where in a matter of seconds you're good to go, and then you have all the information you need about how your business is actually doing, to get paid, and reconciliation of transactions and invoices, everything under one roof. Usually these systems are doing smaller things, and then they are super good on those things, but we're trying to do the full circle. And of course, it is a bet, but we want to be an all-in-one tool for the smallest business possible, right? So we couldn't find that, and in the end, it's just so much fun to build it by yourself, right? And really try to do it better, and that's what drives us, I would say. Yeah, okay. So I have a sweet accountant. She's grumpy, but she's super sweet. And I usually said to her every third month, when I need to send my invoices and my transactions, I buy things in Swedish krona. And all my invoices are usually in US dollar, because I buy for servers and all those kind of things. And she needs to backtrack those. And I usually said to her, like, oh, you get it before midday. You get it before the end of the day. And then the day, and then midday. And then it just felt natural to like have it before midday. And then we started Midday, right? So it just felt natural. I mean, It basically comes from my own experiences and talking with our customers and users are around. Usually, you have this circle what you need to do as a business. You need to sort of know how it's going, right? You need to know your burn rate. You need to know what you're spending on. That is nothing new, but we're really pushing for the all-in-one system, and I think that is key, right? Not jumping between systems, etc. So I think we probably gonna, and I think that is the angle we're going after. Yeah. Yeah, so I think this comes down to we are not the full-fledged bookkeeping software, and it has its pros and cons, right? We don't need to rely on domestic tax rules and those kind of things, which means we can build a system which works for you and experiment a little bit more, right? We can leverage AI much more broadly to give you insights and those kind of things, and not be scared about it could potentially be a little bit wrong or those kind of things, right? Because it's insights, and in the end, you're gonna get signed off for your accountant or your exporting to your accounting software, which means Midday is gonna be this thin layer where we can experiment and really adapt new technologies and do some crazy things that really gives you insights. And I think there is a space where we're going to be for quite some time, because then we can really iterate fast and move fast and do crazy things. I think that is the things that our customers love, because I mean, just this week we launched AI, like voice talk to your assistant with voice communication. So you can just ask like, oh, how much have I spent on software last month? So I think it's easy for us to move fast because we don't need to know domestic tax rules and those kind of things right now. So you get deeper in, you connect your bank accounts via three different providers, right? In Europe, you have Go Cardless. In US, you have Teller and Plaid, and then we're also going to add Australia and New Zealand pretty soon. And basically, the only things we care about is the transactions. And from those, we have date, amount, name, and currency. And in the end, we're doing all the calculations and everything in-house, because security, of course, is key here. We use OpenAI for the large language model, but in the end, all the data is embedded and locally stored in our Postgres database and Supabase. And what we can leverage is basically everything you need to run your business and also get deeper knowledge, your spending patterns, your like your burn rate, your runway, all those kind of things, which actually means a lot for a small business. What I needed to do before was I was needed to call my accountant and say, how is my business actually doing, right? I have no idea. Because I'm coding all day. You know how it is, like you're coding and you're sending an invoice end of the week or the month, and then you just continue, right? So we are quite different in the sense where we actually rely on those systems, right? In the end, you're exporting to your accounting software. Here in Sweden, we have Fortnox, which is the equivalent to QuickBooks or Xero. Those systems are like the last piece of the puzzle, right? There is usually where your accountant sits or where you verify you're closing your books, right? And it's a good reason. One, it's super hard to build a global product which works with tax rules and all those kind of things. And we wouldn't be able to leverage that because we are self-founded, we are a two-man team. But of course, it gives us the perspective where can we leverage as much value as possible to not be able to close the books in Midday. And it has its pros and cons right now. And we're working from bottom up with our users. If that is what they want in the end, maybe we bring in accountants like we are sitting now, right? You can get you just need a verification, like, have I done this right? Is everything correct? So that could be a potential way. But right now we're relying on those kind of software, and yeah, we are friends with them, so we're not competing with Xeria and QuickBooks. Yeah, great question. Actually, when we started, we went after SMBs, and we had a lot of discussions with VCs, but in the end, we continued to be self-founded. But what we learned from those great meetings was basically all the different financial softwares today, they're usually going after SMBs and up, and the goal should be like enterprises and the largest customers, right? But what we found, and also from ourselves, is freelancers, micro businesses, like 2, 3, 5-man team, they usually don't have anything, right? They're sending invoices from a static PDF, or they keep tracks of projects within a spreadsheet and those kind of things. They have files in Dropbox, and I would say we find like a sweet spot where we can solve these issues for the smallest companies, and then we can grow with them. I mean, in the end, we're probably going to be in the SMB sector, but we're going to focus on the freelancers right now. I mean, you can track basically, we have an animation on our website, which is a circle, which animates a little bit. And that includes basically what Midday is. Like, it's a circle of running the business. So Midday is giving you features where you can track your hours, right, on projects. And then in the end, you send an invoice that gets matched automatically against your transactions because we have a connection. And then when you can export that to your accountant or your accountant software, you close the books and everything is fine. And also in between, we have this inbox feature where you can send in invoices or just drag and drop all your invoices. They got scanned and then matched against transactions. And then, of course, we have the vault, which is basically your own Dropbox where you can keep all your company files, agreements, etc. So I would say the whole flow basically give you a lot of hours extra in the end. So that is our pitch. We save you hours, and in the end, we save you money. Yeah, great question. So I just mentioned that we use OpenAI as a large language model right now. How we have built it is basically we can use whatever model we want, and we rely on tool calling, actually. So we don't get any hallucinations because we do the calculations and everything in-house. Because, I mean, as you mentioned, if we were sending transactions through the wire to OpenAI, one, it would be super insecure, and our users wouldn't like that, right? And in the end, large language models are not that good at actually calculating those kind of stuff with the right accuracy, right? So all our calculations and everything is happening in-house, but they are called through the large language model. And also, moving forward, you can install Midday on your computer, which means behind the scene, we will eventually enable you to download using Ollama, for example, behind the scenes. So you can download your own model, and then in the end, you have your local model, which is like your own thing, right? So that is also tied to both security, but also speed and doing more crazy things on your computer. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, as long as you have something online, you're always at risk, right? But we're following the regular like best practices. We ensure like MF2, you can have a two-factor authentication as a user, but also on our end, we of course have encryption at rest. We are evaluating adding encryption on row level for sensitive data. But in the end, we're a thin layer between Plaid, for example, which gives us the information of your transactions. Those keys are encrypted, but in the end, of course, if we would be hacked or leaked, you could see transaction data and tie that to your company. And of course, that is not good. And I would say we are also fully open source, and that gives us a lot of eyes, a lot of great engineers that have a lot of different perspective on security and things, and we have a lot of discussions. And I think that is key how Midday is working. We are working from bottom up. We are self-founded. We're communicating everything, our values and everything. Our usage metrics is open / open startup. You have everything. And it's a good reason for that, because we can't compete with this super capital heavy companies that have security teams and etc. So that's why we're going after the freelancers, the smallest companies possible, and building trust to something is gonna happen with our system for sure. But I think the shift here is we're gonna be super transparent about that. And I mean, if you trust us, we trust you, and we're gonna build this together with our customers. So Midday relies on transactional data. So of course we have transactions. I think it's 34 countries, thanks to the 3 different banking providers. And on top of that, we have built our own engine. So in the end, we only care about the data points, as I mentioned before, for the transactions, and that's what our engine gives us. And we're gonna add Australia with a provider there, and thanks to that, we can really move fast and really give value in different countries around the world. In the end, we're gonna have, because we're open source, right? We're gonna get a lot of great ideas and integrations from the community. So we have an RFC up where and how you can build your own apps on top of Midday, which means I will not build every integration for Midday because then we can't scale. But we're getting a lot of feedback. You can vote for integrations. You can request an integration, and then the community could potentially build that for you. So right now, we only have export to CSV and zip file, and in the end, of course, we're going to export to Xerio, Fortnox in Sweden, QuickBooks, etc. But we have requests for cal.com, because when you're tracking your hours, in Germany, for example, you need to know which date and what slots you actually work with this company, right? When you send the invoice. So that could be an integration where the community steps in and building that for us together with us. So I'm excited to see how many integrations we will have once our framework for apps are launched. So real time in the banking world is usually 3 hours. So we are getting new transactions every 3 hours, and based on that, you can do whatever with the information, right? You can ask for runway this month, or what did I spend on this category last month or year, etc. And of course that is calculated in real time, but in the end we rely on the transactions, and it could potentially be a delay on 3 hours, but it's real time in the banking world. Yeah, we're actually kicking off doing some official customer stories later this month. But what we actually are doing, right, because we're coming from the bottom up, you can schedule a 15-minute call with me or Victor, and then we're sitting with our potential customers or customers, and basically what they are doing, they're telling us what they don't like and what they like, and when we hear the pattern, what they don't like, we're fixing that, and then in the end, they are converting to be our core users, because they see oh, you actually listen, and you actually made this for us. And that is key for Midday to actually, we're going to be working for the smallest one and actually build it for them. But I would say the general feedback we are getting is the burn rate, that they can actually see the burn rate and the runway and what they're spending on. That is the biggest aha moment for them. And then when they move on to actually uploading or sending in the invoices, and they are actually reconciled against the transactions, it's oh, this is actually saving me so much time and money in the end. And we actually just getting started. We just built this base plate of features, but in the end, we're gonna kill what doesn't stick, and we're gonna add things on top of those things that our users love. And that's why we're sitting and having these kind of conversations, and to learn what actually works, right? I mean, AI in every sense is here to stay, right? And I would say it's hard to predict where we will be, but in the end, what we will want to have Midday to be is work for you. I mean, we don't care about retention and those kind of metrics, because in the end, we want Midday to work for you, and in the end, we don't want you to use Midday that much, right? We want Midday to provide you with everything you need to actually be done with your business and just focus on what you love to do instead, right? So I would say we have a close eye on patterns, but also we're gonna, as I mentioned, experiment with new ideas and do crazy things. And those things could potentially stick and be super valuable in the end, because with those kind of communications that we have, we're gonna find things that are like probably a little bit unheard of, but we're gonna know if it works or not pretty fast, and then we're gonna either remove it or invest more in it. I mean, somewhere you actually need some sort of input, right? And I would say AI can probably go really, really far, but I'm more excited to see how far it can go, and I don't know about that. But in the end, we want Midday to work for you, and not the opposite. I mean, talking about like starting their own thing, or I mean, be curious and just start to do something. What really made me actually jump and really do Midday on full time, because I've been working on different companies as a consultant for several years, and what actually made me like realize like you have something, right? And that is actually talking about it, not only like this, but also on X, Twitter, or LinkedIn, like posting about everything and see if people are excited. And that gives you the fuel to actually try to do it, and then really, really pushing for it, because finding something that you love to do, and I think AI in general is like, it's a really huge hype, as we all know, but it's a fun one. I mean, if you can find those things together with AI, you can do some crazy things that gives you a lot of value back. I mean, if you're excited about Midday and you aren't sure about what it can do for you, I mean, let us know. We are really listening, and also if you're interested in like how a product leveraging AI, we are fully open source. A lot of freelancers are tech heavy, so yeah, go to our repository, check out the code, yeah, have a look and see what you can do with it.
All right. And from my side, thank you so much for your time, Pontus. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye bye.